Sugar. 7 of 10 Africans in chains cross the Atlantic for sugar. It dissolves on the tongue in seconds. On the islands, the dead outran births every year. In 1640, James Drax sailed to Brazil. He bought a sugar mill and cauldrons and shipped them to Barbados. He built the first true sugar plantation. Field, mill, boiling house, one estate. He called it Drax Hall. Plantations did not run on labor, they ran on replacement. Within 20 years, Barbados grew nothing else. Beside the mill stood a man, waiting. If a hand caught in the rollers, the arm came off with a hatchet. It was cheaper than stopping the mill. The mill was the heart of it. Iron rollers, oxen turned, fed by hand. It worked. Drax grew rich enough, a visitor wrote, to live like a prince in the cane. What he built did not stay on his estate. The model spread to every Caribbean island, then north to the American South. In 1661, Barbados wrote it into law, the first slave code in the English world. Sugar was the most valuable cargo on the ocean. Other colonies copied it, almost word for word. Across 3 centuries, 12 million Africans were shipped, and most were sent to grow this. Behind the mill stood the boiling house, cauldrons of cane juice boiled and ladled by hand. The fires never went out. Men and women worked 12-hour shifts in the heat. Scalding was routine. The work ran through the night for months. What drained off the cooling sugar was molasses, distilled into rum and shipped out too. The harvest came once a year, all at once. Cut cane spoils in a day, so nobody slept. Cane cuts the people who harvest it. The stalks grew taller than a man, the leaves sharp as blades, cutting hands and eyes. Children made up the youngest gangs at the rows. They weeded the cane and killed the rats. New people from Africa were seasoned for 3 years. At Codrington, 4 of every 10 bought were dead within their first 3 years. At one estate, Newton, the diggers later found, the lowest age at death ever measured. Here is the part that does not add up. Where they grew cotton, the enslaved numbers grew. Where they grew sugar, the numbers fell. Year after year, more died than were born. The only way to keep the workforce standing was to keep buying more people off the ships. On the worst islands, 1/10 died each year. A planter could read a ledger. Cheaper to work a person to death and buy another than to keep one alive. We do not know how many died. The estates counted sugar by the ton and people by the head in the same book. A missing number is missing on purpose. The dead were counted only when someone was owed. The money built ports, banks, and country houses. Much of Britain's old wealth traces back to it. None of this reached the cup. In London, sugar went from a luxury of kings to the habit of clerks. It went into tea, coffee, and chocolate. 3 drinks too bitter to take without it. Within a lifetime, it reached the poorest English tables. By 1800, the average Briton ate 4 times what their grandparents had. No one stirring it ever saw the mill. That was the point. The distance was the product. Slavery in the British Caribbean ended in 1833. The government paid £20 million in compensation. The Podcat. Subscribe.